Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for being here today for the Awaken Your Soul's Journey podcast. I'm Angela, and I am so excited to have with me today Charlene Smart. I actually got to know Charlene through a mutual friend, and so it's so great to have her here. I'm going to read a little bit about her, and then we're going to find out more afterwards. So, Charlene is a holistic practitioner with heart dedicated to healing, inviting you on a journey towards self discovery and transformation. She specializes in energy healing and emotional freedom technique, which some of you may know as tapping. Charlene focuses on helping women break free from the shadows of their past. Her expertise extends to addressing stress, PTSD, anxiety, trauma, and pain, as well as promoting overall well being. And through inspiring speaking engagements and transformative workshops, she shares her profound belief that stepping out from the shadows of our past is the key to unlocking a life abundant in peace and happiness. And I totally agree. So thank you and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Angela. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, so happy to have you. And so, just to start, maybe share a little bit more background about yourself, just how you got into doing all this energy healing and your EFT.
Absolutely. So, as a child and growing up, I didn't realize it, but I just sort of had this gift, we'll call it,
Yeah.
where individuals would come and they'd share, even as a child, their personal struggles with me and turn around, walk away. They seemed better. I was okay with that. And it wasn't until though I was a lot older that I realized that as individuals were having a conversation with me, it was more than just a verbal conversation, but it was also an energetic conversation. I had a friend actually describe it to me. She said, Shar, people come to you and they tell you their problems, and what they're doing is just laying them down. Then you, not even realizing it, are providing them with this healing energy. So when they walk away from you, they really do feel better. And it was actually that friend who had said, you should try out Reiki just so you can understand what it is you do. And so I did, found that Reiki is fabulous and wonderful, but there was so much more to what my gift was. So, decided that I would finally heed the call, which is the call to help people in a way that this gift provided. Started my business and quickly realized that I could not I shouldn't say I could not, but it truly was. I knew I was afraid. Let's be honest. We're just going to call a spade here. I was afraid as the client would come in, oh my gosh, are they going to talk to me about their trauma? And Angela, here's the thing. I have trauma. I have big trauma in my past. And so I knew if this was going anywhere and I could see the impact that I was having, I knew I needed to heal myself. And so that is how I was introduced to EFT, or emotional freedom technique, and was able to heal my past trauma so that I can be fully 100% here with my clients and help guide them to their healing or through their healing, which has been amazing.
That is amazing. And I know that, in my circles, Reiki and EFT, all those things are well known, but sometimes people surprisingly haven't heard about this stuff. And it's so profound what you can do with these tools. And so tell us more.
So the tools EFT is amazing. We connect acupressure, not puncture, because I don't do needles, but we connect acupuncture with cognitive and exposure therapy, which truly is just a fancy way of saying talk therapy. So when I go to speak with somebody professionally and I'm talking about what's hurting me, what happens is I can actually re-traumatize myself. But with EFT, where we're adding that acupressure part of it, I'm telling you or telling my practitioner what's going on. And I'm also telling my body that I'm safe, that I can remain calm. And even though I didn't believe it when I was first introduced to EFT, truly, I thought it was too crazy. There's no way that this could work. But what's happening is we're able to, as we're talking about maybe this emotional time that I had in my life, and I'm adding the acupressure, my body says, oh, wait, I feel all of this, but my body is telling me I'm really okay. And it's almost as if we help ourselves to say, oh, well, then that means I don't need all of this emotion and energy attached. And what I have found personally, because again, I didn't believe them, my events that have happened in my life have actually just become almost pictures, snapshots. They're not fraught with all of that emotion and pain that I experienced in those times. And what's great about that is truly, it is not the event, the memory of the event that causes us pain. But what it is it's all of our emotion and energy that's attached to it.
Mm.
And so if we can get to a point where we are releasing, and when I say releasing, we're really processing those emotions, we process and release them, that memory becomes a snapshot and it holds no more emotion, which is what our brain is constantly chewing at.
Mhm.
Meaning, as I'm as I'm going through my day and I'm feeling connected, and maybe on a subconscious level, I may not even realize what's going on back there. My brain is actually pulling on all the things that I have an emotional connection to. And by releasing that emotional connection, the mind goes, oh, that's just a memory and it doesn't have any feeling. So I'm not going to chew on it. And it leaves it back there. I hope it's okay. I'd like to share an actual. So, as I'm sitting here explaining this to you, I actually have an example from a client. And we had worked on this extremely difficult moment in her life. And we utilized EFT as well as the energy healing. So, as we're talking about it and she's tapping away, I'm also helping send that energy to her to help her release it. About 2 days later, she calls me in a complete panic. I mean, I am on vacation, right? I'm actually at a funeral, but she's calling me, which is abnormal. So I answer the phone and she's like, Shar, something's wrong. Okay, tell me what happened. She's trying to tell a friend of hers what we worked on and all the things that we had talked about and cleared. And she said, I can't find it. I'm like, what do you mean you can't find it? She's like, I can't remember. And I can see it, but I can't get and explain to her how I was feeling. Ah, that is the power of emotional freedom technique and energy healing. It became just a snapshot, and the mind was like, I don't want to go back to it because it has no connection to me. When she realized that, she felt much better and was okay with leaving it in the past. But that's the best way I can really describe the power of it.
Yeah. And okay, so that just tweaked something in my mind about grief and how when we start to heal from grief and we get further and further away from the trauma of that experience, sometimes people panic because they feel like they're losing that connection with their loved one. They feel like they're forgetting, you know, and I hear that a lot. And I experienced that myself, actually. I found myself going, oh my gosh, I don't remember his voice as well, or I don't remember, and so you're kind of doing the, I don't know if I like this, right?
Absolutely.
Have you worked, well, obviously you've worked with people in grief. Everybody has grief. So But yeah.
I I have worked with individuals specifically on grief of a loved one. And what's funny is sometimes I get them right as they're early stages of grief. But then I also sit down with individuals like that are experiencing what you've described, where I I'm moving on or something's wrong with me, I can't connect with them. And truly, one, grief really never goes away, it changes. We still love that person. And so giving ourselves the ability to express what we're feeling. And a lot of times, and I hope I'm not overstepping, but I think a lot of times when we're feeling that way, we aren't going to share it, right? We don't want to tell people, this
Right.
is what I'm feeling. So what happens is it stays inside and then it keeps building, and that feeling bad, guilty, the worry, if you can sit down and share with somebody, one, just releasing all of those thoughts and emotions helps the brain go, oh, hold on a second. Okay, I think we're okay. And it really opens up the ability to move into the next phase or the next step. EFT and energy healing are actually quite helpful with that. It's not about, I had a client say, I don't want to tap them away, Shar. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
no, no. That's totally not the point here. The point is we're at a place where we're ready to take that next step, and being able to talk about it while tapping helps us to remain in that place of love, that place of remembrance, but doing so where you're maybe the pain isn't as intense. And it can just help that transition.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I found myself, I still have all of those feelings of love and the gratitude for the life that we had together. It's all there and it's all tucked in and it's not going away. It's totally not going away.
No.
But there was a point at which I thought maybe all of it would be, it's just the weirdest kind of feeling because you think that you're going to lose that connection. And I think everybody goes through that to a point. And also, you start to move into this space where you're feeling more happiness and more joy, and things are. And then there's these emotions of guilt that start to come up for you. You start thinking, well, how can I be so happy if, my loved one is gone? And so I'm sure you experienced some of that too.
Yes, and that's a great place to utilize these techniques, because when we first come in, as you know, when we first come into that grief and that losing, we think this is how it's always going to feel and that we should. And we also believe that by feeling happiness or even just that feeling of living, there's that guilt, there's that worry, that concern. And this is where you can utilize techniques not to just make it okay, right? That was that I don't want to tap them away, but it is helping you to rectify that. Most of the time, you believe they still want you to live, right? You might not believe that,
Yeah.
but your loved one is there going, come on, let's, live and enjoy. And you're like, I can't because I'm stuck. If you can work and process through those feelings and emotions, it helps you actually connect, I believe, better with them and be able to live and experience the things that, even though they're not with us, it's okay. It's what they want. They don't want us to stop right where, they left us. They want us to keep living this life. We just have to choose to do that. And sometimes it takes a little more than just, okay, Shar, I'm getting out of bed today and I'm going to work. Nope, that's life moving on. So if I can utilize a technique that helps me process that, it puts us in a place that of really being able to live in and for their memory.
Mhm. Yeah. And those emotions and that initial grief that takes your breath away and kind of pulls a rug out from underneath of you. Um, when I first had that, and I tell people this all the time, that I kept hearing this message how you would grieve for a lifetime. You know, you would never stop grieving your person. And I associated that with that whole feeling of grief, that initial grief that came in and just took me. And I thought, I'm not living then, not doing it because I'm not, this is too painful, right? It's too much. And so I keep sending this message out because I don't want people to get confused about that letting go of that initial grief and the really heavy emotion isn't letting go of your loved one. And it doesn't need to stay with you forever. And you can live a life of happiness and joy afterwards and be okay with all of it. It's totally possible.
Absolutely. I have a friend that she is actually has been in grief just this last year. And we have come to realize that grief hits everybody differently and at different times. And so being able to, no matter what that stage is, realizing that the normal progression beyond that first, I can't breathe, does change. And then that's okay. That's a good thing. It might not feel like it at the time,
Yeah.
but it is a good thing. And
Mhm.
it's what they would want. And I don't hope I'm not overstepping there, but our
Mhm.
loved ones want us to truly not get stuck, and they want us to live a life that maybe they're not standing there with us, but the life that they hoped for us.
Mhm. Yeah, and I always think, well, if we're still here, there must be something, there must be a reason, right? Like, what are we doing here? And so,
Absolutely.
you start to, and I think there comes a point, and it's different for everybody, but you start to kind of search for that. So, what is the meaning and what is the purpose behind the reason why I'm here? And who am I now that this person has been stripped from me and it's changed my whole life, my whole identity? It's that, and when you start stepping into that space and start seeking that out, and we're not ready for that right away. Certainly it takes a while before we get to that space, but when you start to step into that space, and you don't know where you're going, sometimes it can be really scary and overwhelming, to be in
Yes,
that place. Yeah.
absolutely. You know, our mind works in a way that only the known is safe. And so, you know, through each one of these steps, this becomes a safe place for us. And being ready to take that next step is scary and overwhelming. And again, if you're currently at that place, I encourage you to reach out to someone, because you can't, you have a choice. You had a choice, Angela, right? I mean, we all could stay right where we are at. And I am so not saying there's a time frame, because it's going to be different for everybody. But when you find yourself ready, if you're struggling taking that next step, find someone, reach out to them, and really explore and work through the emotions that you need to, so that you can step forward.
Mhm.
And the word why keeps coming into my mind as we're sitting here talking. And you know, I think you were trying to say you had to figure out who you were,
Mhm.
right? After, when you got to that point, you have to figure out what your why is. Why are you still here? And Angela, obviously you are here to help a multitude of individuals, which is wonderful. And I am so sorry for what you had to experience, but for you to be able to support the people in your circle, what an amazing gift that is for them.
Mhm. And for me.
And yes,
Yeah. 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 It's a win-win-win, really.
yes,
Because it helps me, it helps them, And there's this beautiful, there's so much more to it. Like there's all of this growth. And I really think that when we start to step into our purpose, or I don't know if I liked the word purpose, but I mean, when we start to step into what we love to do and what we enjoy doing, that energy radiates out and it ripples out and it's powerful. It really is. And it just lights up a world, really. And it changes everything. And so I like to talk about this because I think it gives people hope that maybe one day, and it doesn't have to be right away because it takes a while. You have to, like you say, I sought out support. I got a grief coach, right? I went into energy healing, much,
Yes.
like you did, took that step into that. And for everybody, it's different. What brings you joy and what brings you that feeling of passion
Mm-hmm.
is different for everybody. When thank goodness, I mean, we need
Yes.
different people in the world, right? And so it's like, yeah, and when I watch people step into that, it just gives me, oh, it just fills my heart. It really does. It just makes my day.
I agree. I agree. And hope is a huge thing, whether it is trauma or whether it's grief, which is trauma. Whatever it is you're dealing with, there is hope. There is hope where we're standing right now, no matter where that is, no matter what path you're on. You do not need to stay in that spot. You can move forward. Figuring out how to move forward is sometimes a struggle,
Mm.
and reaching out to individuals like yourself, um, me, other practitioners, other people who have been where you are, I think offers that light, that guidance, that, oh, wait, I can do it. And no, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. It's not easy, no matter
No,
where
it's
you are.
not. It just isn't. And I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, okay, there are some dark nights of the soul that have to happen before you step into that place. And so I know a lot of people find themselves um, in that dark night of the soul and wondering how they're ever going to come out or if they're ever going to come out.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you know, I think it's important for us to share our story. Um, Angela, if you weren't out sharing it with individuals, those people may still be stuck, right? There may be lots of us who are still stuck right there. I want to share my story, and because I want people to know that there is another way. Even when it doesn't feel like there is. When you're stuck in that dark night of the soul, it doesn't need to be forever. There is hope, and you just have to be ready and open for what that is. And I will tell you this, a healing journey, no matter what it is we're healing from, is not a straight line. It's just not. And it's not a roller coaster that starts and stops.
Mm-hmm.
It is. At least it has been for me, and I'll let you weigh in on this too. It truly is I'm starting. Whoop, nope. I'm gonna back up just a few feet. There's times where I've found myself completely off the path. My path is not straight. There's hills and mountains and rocks that I have to climb over. And there are times when I have stood on that path going, forget it. I'm not moving forward. I'm staying right here. But if you find yourself there, it's okay. Take that moment. Take that moment. You're in control. But all we have to do is take that one tiny step to start propelling us down the path again. And I am finding that sometimes when we think we have reached the end, when we think we have healed it all, oh man, there's still more healing to be done. So Angela, do you mind if I share just a little bit?
Please do.
Okay. So as I said before, I've had trauma in my past, and I'm gonna be I used to be afraid to share it because I was worried about triggering other people. However, I can choose to stay right here and not share my story, or I can use it to hopefully help somebody else and give them hope. So, as I said, I had trauma. It was sexual abuse trauma as a child, and there was no way I could sit with my clients. I knew I was not in a place where I could support somebody in that because it would call to my own. So I set out and I healed, and I thought I had healed all or the majority of it until I decided that it was time to start sharing it with the world.
Ah,
And then I found a whole nother layer of healing that has come from that. So our paths really are there. Maybe there isn't an end to it. Sharing it, being able to say it was a healing all on its own. Not that I hadn't shared it with individuals before, but sharing it on a wider group of people. And as I started sharing it, all of a sudden there were new opportunities. How fun is that? To continue my healing to a point where I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And in that moment, I put myself to bed. Yes, I gave myself a timeout. And when I came out of timeout, I went, oh, I just needed a moment to adjust to this new version of me, this new part of me that was not buried by what I was still carrying. Now, it started out as a ginormous boulder, and it wasn't easy to clear all of those past experiences. As I did, it got to be smaller and smaller. And I realized about a month ago that the boulder was actually a rock, quite a big rock I was carrying around. And now I know I'm holding a little pebble. There's still more healing that needs to be done, but it is possible. I will tell my clients and friends all the time, we have the choice to remain in the shadows of our past. And I call them shadows because they truly do kind of hang over us. And they are what is dictating our choices, our decisions, how we're feeling about ourselves, and even the world around us. And I used to think that was the way it was going to be for the rest of my life. This was it. This was just who I was. And then I realized that I could step free of them and break away from them. And what I want everybody, as many people as I can get this message to know that you also, no matter what your shadows are, you can step free of them. And it doesn't change who you are. Who you are at your core remains. That was one of the things I was worried about. All this changing was going to change who I was because my trauma made me this person. But here's the deal, it didn't change me. It gave more space for that part of me to come forward, more space for joy and love for myself and for others around me. So it's possible, no matter what it is you are working on or healing now.
love that. Absolutely love that. Yeah. And, it's so, I get goosebumps when I think about, you stepping into telling your story because I feel that. I feel it because it's not easy at first. It's really, well, you're really vulnerable in that space. And, first of all, you're telling your story, and there might be a little bit of shame and guilt that comes with that. And then you're putting it out there for others to maybe judge or criticize, which
Yes.
could be a huge blow. And so, yeah, having somebody to support you through that.
Hmm.
And then actually, it's so freeing to just take the step and do it. And then allow all of, like you say, that space to
Yes.
just open up so that you can actually breathe again and you can invite something cool into your life.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, that's a beautiful story. And the interesting thing is that, as I interview more people on the podcast, and I think that's why I love it so much, is I get to hear that story over and over in so many different ways. And everyone is so individual, in the way that they have come through it. And
Yeah.
I always think, if there's enough stories out there, somebody will resonate with one of those. And I know many people are going to resonate with yours. It's going to be wonderful. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. It really truly has been a pleasure.
Yeah. So tell us, how can people work with you? Because I think, your personality and just the way, like you say, you've had this gift since you were very young. You're very easy to talk to. And so I know people are going to want to work with you. How do they get?
Yeah. So you can pop out to my website, which is a very long website. It's a healinglightwellness.com. You can learn more about the techniques that I currently utilize. There's also some free meditations out there if you're looking for that. And there's going to be a scheduling button. So you just click on that. You can choose to pick a time and day that works best for you. And if you just want to make sure that you and I are the right fit, I actually offer a 30-minute free consultation where you get to introduce yourself to me. We talk about whatever it is that you would like to talk about, and you get to ask me any questions. It really is a way. I find clients when they first are reaching out, they don't know me. I would feel uncomfortable, coming into somebody trying to share my deepest, darkest feelings. But having that moment really is that 30 minutes to where we can just connect and you can decide if I really am the right person to help you. And if I am, then great, we can schedule there, or you can always pop in and just schedule when it's convenient for you.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. And then I am, if anybody is still trying to decide, or you just want more information, more of a pick me up, I am on Instagram and Facebook. And you can pop out there. I try and put out a whole lot of uplifting, different things out there. And that is Healing Light Wellness online in both areas.
Okay. Healing Light Wellness. So people, want to check that out. And I will say that discovery call, or whatever you want to call it, that first call, I did that with my coach. And oh man, I knew by the end of that call, I really needed to work with her. And it was still scary. It was still scary, but well, on the other end of that is healing. And
Yes,
so, when you resonate with someone and you just know that they're going to be helpful to you, if you can just be courageous and take that step, so
absolutely.
much healing and happiness and joy on the other side of that. So I encourage people to, if they're resonating with this conversation and you're like, whoa, I like this girl, I encourage you to take that discovery call. Do that. Yeah.
It's wonderful. And no matter who it is you decide to work with, I would always make sure that you connect with them, no matter what it is they're offering. And no matter what it is your friends or podcasts tell you, this gal's fabulous.
Right.
I want you guys to go in and really make sure that you are connecting with them. Because if you don't, your healing will not go as far. So, take people up on that option to meet them before you start working with them.
Absolutely. Yeah, and a lot of coaches do this. And so you could do several discovery calls and then find out who is the real fit for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And you had talked about giving me a link to a tapping that people could do.
Yes, absolutely. So when I started, or knowing that I was going to share my story, I knew that it could possibly bring up some emotion for other people listening. So no matter where you're at, it does not need to even be about trauma. But I have created a free guide that I'd like to share with you guys where we will actually utilize tapping and we'll work through helping to release whatever emotions have come up, whether it's now or later. And so, do you want me to give you the actual link of what it is, or will you send that out?
I will
Sorry.
definitely put it in the description.
Perfect.
I'll do that.
Perfect.
That'll make
So,
it easiest. Yes. Mhm.
yeah, so Angela will drop that in the description for us, but I encourage you pop out, utilize it, even if you're not dealing with a whole lot of trauma, but maybe you just have some emotion on the surface. It is going to be awesome, and I'm always here if I can answer any questions or I can be here to help you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yep. Angela, thank you for being this light in the world to me and to all of us. And I really do wish everybody love and light.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for watching, and bye for now.